Bluffton, and we had to call out troops to help us get here. And then we got here, and the equipment wasn't working, and now we're having technical difficulty.
Yeah, you're.
No,
I was capturing everything.
Oh. We'll have to erase this part. Anyway, again, okay, so I'm going to get right into it. We have a lovely group of readers tonight, and we're going to start off with Elizabeth Robin. And some of you may not know that in 2018, Elizabeth Robin began work on a nonfiction piece called Travels with Byron. Byron is her Hilton Head human rescue pup, and their travels that summer include these statistics: 19,413 miles, 105 days, 24 cities, 31 states plus Quebec, 28 national parks, 11 national forests, monuments, and state parks, and yes, many dog parks. Since then, Robin ventures out with Byron every summer, and whenever else the wanderlust overwhelms. Next month, they return to the Smokies, Shenandoah, and will explore the newest national park in West Virginia and a state park in Pennsylvania. Robin intends to complete revision of that manuscript and begin submitting this fall. So without further ado, we welcome Robin to our stand, if she can find her way here.
Well, I feel like I'm probably going to knock that down. A little bit of a oops. Good evening. This, by the way, has absolutely nothing to do with me traveling in my camper with my dog. So, I don't know what. Where's the thingy? Okay. I was playing with a list of homophones in that nerdy poet way I have. And I got involved with the difference and the similarities between past, P-A-S-S-E-D, and past, P-A-S-T. And I started playing with that. And then I took this plane trip, and for probably the millionth time heard the very same safety instructions that you hear no matter what airline, no matter what year, verbatim, same phrases all the time. Some of which, if you think of them out of context, can be fairly funny. And then I landed on this after the Northern Lights happened. Past lives. A sunstorm brightens night skies, neon green and magenta flashes. Dawns a morning light show, a flickering lantern dance through leaves, turned fire branch, Spanish moss alight, a tiki torch burning tree limbs. Contents may shift during takeoff. My heart pills turn pink. A near full moon lights an inky sky. The kitchen sink holds 3 days of dishes. Dust cakes every ceiling fan. Dog hair fills corners and baseboards. Storm debris crowds the deck. Theme track to my summers. I switch to airplane mode. He lurks at our meeting spot. In my past, I'd spy him halfway along the terminal walkway. We'd grab hold as if we'd never let go. But this night, I am with a man. I walk through his ghost. Using a paper map, I follow the moon home, luminous, a beacon out of reach. Always put your own mask on before helping others. Like a homing pigeon, I follow a charted route, a radio soundtrack that switches to Since I Lost My Baby. I expect the ugly grief those notes trigger, 8 years caught in surprise at how words and melody haunt. Know the flood of film clips, more flickering. There may be unexpected turbulence. The man that appears this time lives. The moon lights the stop sign. Stunned, I forget to move on. Scars can be sexy. The harvest moontide swallows the tire swing. Its slim rope pierces the flotilla of marsh reeds. Bare feet stick in murky pluff mud. Closest exit may be behind you. I'm pretty done with it. You were in a force.
Thank you, Robin. Our next writer is Eric Johnson, and he is a retired tech writer from New Jersey, currently living in Bluffton, South Carolina with his wife, Gwendolyn. He is a novelist and by his own admission is learning to write poetry the hard way. I'm not sure I know what that means. Eric is the author of Run to Win and A Second Coming. The first chapter of his work in progress, Run to Finish, was published in the July issue of Right Launch. Eric has contributed to the anthology Journey into My Brother's Soul, 2 Island Writer Network anthologies, Reflection and Ripples, and the Daniel Boone Footstep anthology, Twists and Turns. Eric's poem, Low Country Creeks Are Built Different, has been featured on the Hilton Head Island Poetry Trail. He currently serves as moderator of IWN, bless your heart, and is a participant in many of the IWN workshops and critiques. Please welcome Eric Johnson.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm a little bit tired and wonky because I spent a week in New York City at my son's wedding, and I haven't really recovered. But,
Eric, can you pull that up? Yeah.
there we go. Okay. Thank you. This is a little short, real short essay called Street People. And I'll just read it, see if you can figure out what I meant. I've spent a considerable amount of time riding trains between New Jersey and work sites in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Hoboken. I usually read, but there were times when I enjoyed a pastime my brother called eyeballing. This is where you pretend to be reading the daily news, but instead you check out the guy across the aisle, commanding an invisible army of tiny aliens yelling, "Line up, you little mother effers! Line up or I'll stomp you into the effing ground." New York subways had the feel of a public audition. Once an exquisitely dressed woman on the Uptown A train threw her head back and sang Carole King's "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman," loudly, with passion, but without melodic intonation. My favorite strap-hanging artist hawked his rap CDs from car to car. I still remember his pitch. This is authentic hip-hop. This ain't no gangster rap. This ain't no bubblegum rap either. This is real hip-hop, straight from the source. The last line got me. I rarely encounter these people above ground. I walk too fast to notice anyone, especially panhandlers, who I slalom past like they were ski slope obstacles. I still visit the city frequently to visit my sons, and I have noticed a dramatic change in the behavior of street people. In my experience, they would benignly ask for money that they promised to use for their sick children waiting for them at Port Authority bus terminal. If you ignored them, they ignored you. Today, these guys, they tend to be men, seem more aggressive. I asked my next door neighbor, a retired New York City transit cop, if I had uncovered more evidence of post-COVID societal change. He said, "It's awful. These guys are bad. They're animals. Stay off the subway." I said, But the people I'm seeing aren't on the subway. They're on the streets. Yeah, he replied, looking over his shoulder as a group of girls whizzed past in a golf cart. They're everywhere. What has happened to change cautious beggars into wild-eyed maniacs? Take the guy in Chelsea who emerged from the 28th Street subway entrance hissing, "Bitch, bitch, bitch." My wife said, "I know he's not talking to me," which terrified me because I had no intention of confronting this dude. He walked in circles, spewing bits of food. I wasn't going near him or the 8th Avenue subway. We decided to walk to New York Penn Station, where I watched a man have a loud argument with his reflection in the restroom mirror. He wore a poncho made out of a comforter cinched at the waist by bungee cords. He tried to adjust his turban when the cleaning attendant approached him and said, "Dude, I need you to get your ass out of here." Instead of meekly picking up his hefty bag and leaving, he challenged the attendant to a bout of mixed martial arts. This behavior is not confined to New York City. One Sunday, my wife insisted we stop in Savannah, so that she could obliterate her diet by ordering a snack from the Peach Cobbler Factory on Barnard Street. On the way, she stopped at a gift shop while I stood outside soaking up the humidity. A young man approached, holding his trousers up with one hand while clutching several bills in the other. "Sir," he said, "I need $19 for a decent place to stay for the night." I'm distrustful of anyone who calls me sir, but it was Sunday, so I carefully pried a dollar bill from my wallet and handed it to the kid. He lifted his sparsely bearded chin and rolled his eyes at me. I've raised kids. I know what that look means. I had gone from being sir to becoming cheap bastard. We had a brief tug of war over the bill, which I finally released. He stormed off, muttering to himself. Feeling aggrieved, I sat on the bench when an older man sat next to me and asked if I could give him money for a cold bottle of water or a hamburger. My wife carries bottled water in a tiny cooler, so I told the guy to wait a sec. I ran into the shop, grabbed a bottle, went back outside, and handed it to the man, who shook his head slowly and said, "What do you want me to do with this?"
Thank you, Eric. Our next reader, and this is easy because he's always number 3. This is his spot, I was told a long time ago. So it is Barry Dixon. Barry was our featured reader last month at Open Mic and definitely entertained the audience with his creative writing. I pondered why Barry was so funny, as he made the ordinary sound a little bit off, but a little bit right, causing peals of laughter from the audience. So I looked up the neuroscience of humor, why some people are funny and why some aren't. Previous studies have taken photos of the brain as it writes poetry, improvises jazz, and even draws pictures. But humor is a very unique field, as it is easy to assess. Simply, does it make you laugh? Creative writing is arguably more subjective. But there was no doubt that our Barry is a funny guy who can generate complex emotional reactions, combining both humor and writing. He finds a nonsensical way of making sense of our messes. Barry Dixon.
I really feel the pressure now. So, we have clearly entered, hello, a period of campus demonstrations. And as I follow this, I invariably hearken back to the original period of campus demonstrations in my lifetime. Those were campus demonstrations. So I invite you to hearken with me. Let us hearken together tonight. This is from my manuscript, Barry Who? 33 Unforgettable Micro Memoirs from Someone You Never Heard of. And it's just incidents from my life. This one is spring 1969. It's called Something Now. Campus demonstrations were everywhere. Columbia, Berkeley, Harvard, Wisconsin, Michigan. Somehow, Temple University had remained demonstration-free. So when we heard the hubbub outside our lecture hall window, we were startled. What was going on out there? The professor stopped her political science lecture and walked to the window. That's the permission we were waiting for. Soon the whole class, about 45, was lined along the sill, leaning and stretching to catch the action below. The demonstration seemed divided into two groups, chanting things at each other. On the third floor, we were too high to hear exactly what. Someone between the groups was being spoken to, or was it protected by campus police? I could see placards, but couldn't read them from above. What did they just yell? Asked one student. Something now, someone said. It's not peace now, someone else said. How many political science lectures include a campus demonstration on the issues of the day? Said the professor, smiling proudly. Maybe it has to do with the tearing down of the dorms, I said. Wait, one classmate said. Isn't that Jamie? It was indeed Jamie. He was walking through one of the groups toward our building, late for class again. No matter how many dirty looks the professor flashed when he arrived 10 minutes late, Jamie never got the message. Annoying though that was, I got to like the guy. He was funny. Now Jamie could be the hero. He could tell us what's going on. The two sides, if that's what they were, seemed to drift closer. Philadelphia police began arriving. They stepped between the groups. We watched and listened a couple more minutes, but were still unable to figure it out. Enter Jamie. He looked a little breathless, but otherwise in one piece. Jamie, who are those people? Someone said. Could you tell what's going on? The professor asked. We all seemed to literally be leaning toward him. I saw him look us over. Yes, I could, he answered. We leaned closer. There are two groups, he said. The group on the left is saying, search is a breath mint. The group on the right is saying, search is a candy mint. And the guy in the middle is saying, search is two mints in one. Temple actually has Baptist roots, but in the Philly area, all colleges have a strong Quaker influence. So, lucky for Jamie, we decided not to kill him. Oh, thank you. Have a good summer, everyone.
Thank you Barry, we can always count on you for our entertainment. Next up is a poet by the name of Skinner Matthews. He is a poet member of our IWN writing group. He began work on his first book of poetry, Anno Domini, last year. He has been published in Autumn Sky Poetry, Lavina Press, and will be published this summer in Rising Phoenix Review, Straight Branch Literary Journal, Ecstasis Magazine, and As Surely as the Sun Journal. The two poems he will be reading tonight will be published in our own Sea Change anthology, which is our 8th edition of the anthologies. Skinner.
Thank you. I know. I heard it. How y'all doing? So a little change in order here. I wasn't quite expecting this change. So I'm going to read two poems that will be published in the anthology, and I really wanted. I literally reviewed both of these poems with 3 different sets of editors, and then they were reviewed by Denise, who's our main poetry editor of the anthology. And to me, it's really amazing because the 4th edit was without question the best edit. These 2 poems are much better poems after working with Denise on these edits. So I'm happy to read them. I'm glad she's here for me to read them for the first time. So the first poem is a poem I did read here previously, but it's now been edited, as I mentioned, and it's St. Thomas. It is, it's about St. Thomas Island, and our family goes there a lot. We went there for the first time after COVID, and it was our first family trip. And when we got there, there was we suffered, a tropical storm came over, the whole island was misted over, etc. So that's where this poem begins. Mist rise off the waters, 1,000 gods I would never have known rising up to say hello. In prayers for you and I, lovers of this life we have lived with our mothers, sons, brothers, and wives, lords of those minutes that have died. They all rise off these waters today, and the green hills are greener than any summer before. Of course there are iguanas in the trees, cormorants on the shore. Waters so blue, serenity should have a name for them. In this mind of mine, mermaids from Atlantis are never far behind. And when the mist finally lifts, the mermaids come. The seas are quieted, more than God himself can imagine. I hear the echoes of my prayers, my brothers, my sons, and my wife. Thank you. That's it. This will be the first time I'll be reading this poem. And again, some really great editing work was done, working in collaboration with Denise. And my wife passed away 4 years ago from cancer. And we went on a trip 2 years later. I had a grandson, his name was Case. Had him out, we were glamping right up near Lake Lanier in Atlanta. Over 4 days, I wrote this poem. With Case, generally we were out in a kayak together, etc. So the poem is my grandson Case, Noreen, days of grief in the lines of a Sappho lyric. Sweetheart, our grandson Case has this infectious smile. It seems at times larger than the universe. It isn't. I imagine only you know this is absolute. Can you see Case wave his little hand? Hello and goodbye in the same sentence. Nothing having left his life, he has no fear of such a thing as loss. Though I am sure nothing is a place he cannot imagine. I, on the other hand, must imagine Case smiling at you. In my imagination, this would be the largest universe where he, you, and I give birth to new lives. They spring forth and startle Case a bit, the smallest bit, because we both know this cannot happen without us being here now. Who would see these lives spring forth when they happen? I am not sure we can answer this without dying first. knowing what more there is to this life we are constantly leaving. I see now, in the slowest wave I imagine Case can make, juxtapositions in the smallest tender bits of imagination I have of you somewhere in heaven. The world and Case still asking me where you are. He knows you exist, but expects the body of a person to respond to his constant waves of hello and goodbye. Thank God only I saw the bones of your body, the letting go your survival meant to us. With your suffering, we wanted so much to give you a quiet death. I hope we succeeded and you sleep with that blue blanket, the one Cousin May prayed over more softly than any of us had ever spoken. She said the prayer as if Jesus crocheted it. Love looped through her prayer, where your feather of a body will lay softly forever. In our dreams in heaven, that blue-white scud of a cloud in delineation of the sky in itself, without which you cannot see the nature of blue softness appear right there. Yes, I see now blue softness is a tangible touch. Our touches were so tangible and blue. These were the last words of Cousin May's prayer. Life, death, and grief are the same in all languages. As all great tragedies occur in one place, beauty is not missing from anything or anywhere. That's it. Thank you.
Oh my, beautiful words. Thank you very much, Jeff. We are going to take a break now and have a jammer, Paul Meehan, whom many of you remember from last time, and we were lucky enough to snag him again. So we feel very privileged to have you here to entertain us, and could you possibly talk a little bit about what you're going to do and maybe give a little information about the jammers?
Sure can.
Okay, thank you.
Never saw an audience I didn't like to talk to. I got a few things set up first. I switch a few things around.